Kendrick Lamar is about to end Drake and J. Cole's careers. Again. People are saying he's got a secret 2026 war plan that's already in motion, and Baby Keem is the nuclear weapon nobody saw coming. This whole situation has the internet spinning because while Drake's fighting lawsuits and Cole still apologizing for backing down, Kendrick been plotting in silence, and the execution just started. Everybody thought they knew the full story about the Kendrick versus Drake beef. Drake got demolished by Not Like Us, the song went #1, became a Super Bowl moment, turned into a global ritual, and that was it. Beef over. Kendrick won, case closed. That was the version everyone repeated. The narrative was simple. Kendrick dropped GNX, destroyed Drake's reputation, and walked away victorious, while Drake spiraled into damage control and J. Cole stayed quiet after his public apology. But now, new information from Kendrick's inner circle, industry insiders, and leaked plans got the whole narrative twisted. Turns out GNX wasn't the finale. It was the warm-up, the opening act, the warning shot. And what's coming next in 2026 is about to make everything that happened in 2024 look like child's play. We're not talking about another diss track. We're talking about a calculated, multi-phase campaign designed to completely erase Drake and J. Cole from the conversation and replace them with a new regime that Kendrick's been building in the shadows this entire time. Let me break down exactly what's happening right now, because this is where things get absolutely insane. First piece of evidence. Kendrick Lamar just quietly updated his certifications, and out of nowhere, Section .80, his debut album from 2011, is officially platinum. Now on the surface, that might sound like just another certification update. Artists get those all the time, right? But think about the timing. Kendrick hasn't been actively promoting old projects. He's been silent. No rollout, no singles, no big campaign. And yet, his 13-year-old album is still moving units in 2026, while Drake and J. Cole are desperately trying to convince people their new music matters. That's not just a flex, that's a psychological warfare tactic. Kendrick basically carved this message into the industry's forehead. My old mixtape era album is still going platinum, while your new projects are fighting TikTok trends for oxygen. No album drop, no single, no big rollout, just a casual reminder that his catalog has more staying power than their current attempts at relevance. And that was the polite part. Second piece of evidence, and this is where it gets scary. Hitta J3, Kendrick's longtime friend, collaborator, and known insider who's been around since the Section .80 days, dropped a sentence on social media that should have every Drake and J. Cole stan on life support. He said, and I quote, "That was something light the homie gave y'all. Kendrick is not done yet." Let that sink in. GNX, the very album that shattered rap beef history, turned Not Like Us into a global phenomenon, had the entire world clowning Drake in 4K resolution, and basically rewrote the rules of how beef works in the streaming era, is being described as something light. If that was light, what does heavy look like? J3's subtext is absolutely brutal when you break it down. He's basically confirming three things. First, Kendrick has way more music recorded than what the public has heard. Second, GNX was a test run, not the main event. Third, the plan isn't over, it's entering the next phase. Kendrick didn't just win a beef, he opened a campaign, a long-term strategy designed to systematically dismantle his competition piece by piece. And now, here's the third piece of evidence, and this is the one that has industry insiders absolutely panicking. A verified insider, and we're talking about someone with a proven track record here. The same person who called Harry Styles' album announcement to the exact day, nailed Don Toliver's surprise drop on Thursday, January 22nd, and literally hasn't missed a single prediction yet. This person is now claiming that Baby Keem is dropping his first album in 5 years before both Drake's Iceman and Cole's The Fall Off. Let me repeat that because it's so disrespectful it almost sounds fake. Baby Keem, Kendrick's blood relative, his creative heir, his protege, is dropping first, before Drake can step into his redemption arc, before Cole can reclaim his Best Rapper Alive title, before either of them can even attempt to recover from 2024. That means Kendrick isn't even stepping onto the battlefield himself. He's sending in Keem as the opening strike. This isn't competition. This is delegated destruction. This is Kendrick treating Drake and Cole like sparring partners for his younger cousin. It's the ultimate sign of disrespect in hip-hop. You're not even worth my full attention. I'm sending my family member to deal with you while I sit back and architect the next decade. And for anyone who thinks Baby Keem isn't a legitimate threat, let me remind you, family ties already drowned out entire album cycles. That single dominated 2021 and made both CLB and Donda feel like background noise. Keem proved on the Melodic Blue that he can dominate an entire generation off a single rollout. Now he's getting an album that's reportedly packed with nuclear features, Kendrick involvement on multiple tracks, and a rollout strategy that's been planned down to the second. But wait, it gets even crazier. Fans online turn into full-blown investigators, and they've been tracking Kendrick and Baby Keem's movements like they're working for the FBI. Multiple people spotted them filming a movie video in a New York City taxi. Not a closed set, not a private location, out in the open, in public. That means the rollout isn't being planned, it's already happening. The city is literally their set. They're not hiding, they're announcing their presence. Online detectives took this to a new level, digging into every detail like they're on some CSI mission. They started studying social media posts, analyzing timestamps, comparing locations, cross-referencing with known studio sessions, and tracking which producers have been posting cryptic messages. And folks online swear that Kendrick and Keem have been locked in the studio for months, stockpiling music specifically designed to contaminate Drake and Cole's release windows. According to confirmed industry reports, and these are people who work directly with labels, distribution, and marketing teams, here's the lineup that should have Drake's team panicking and Cole's camp praying. Song number 1, a Keem and Kendrick anthem with Kendrick on the hook, built like Family Ties 2.0, but engineered to be even more inescapable. A hook by Kendrick means instant radio poison for competitors, TikTok dominance without even trying, and a song that soundtracks every sports montage, every festival, every summer playlist, and every moment where people want to feel invincible. This is the type of record that doesn't just chart, it owns the charts and refuses to leave. Song number 2, a full rapping track where Kendrick goes into complete assassin mode. Reports say this one allegedly references Ryan Coogler's new film Sinners, and that's not random. Coogler and Kendrick already turned Black Panther into a cultural event with a curated soundtrack that moved units, won awards, and became part of the movie's legacy. Now, imagine Kendrick weaving movie-level storytelling, real-life stakes, cinematic imagery, and subliminal shots all in one track that already has the internet decoding every single bar before it even drops. And on top of all that, the movie video they were filming in New York City, that's not just promo, that's a statement. Kendrick and Keem are making it clear, we're not hiding, we're not playing defense, we're taking over your city, your streets, your culture, and there's nothing you can do about it. Drake and Cole's albums start to look like afterthoughts before they even drop. That's the level of psychological dominance we're talking about here.
Now let's get into the motive, because this is where everything starts clicking into place and the entire strategy becomes crystal clear. Kendrick Lamar has been playing chess while everyone else was playing checkers. And to understand why he's making these moves now, you have to go back and look at the timeline. Back in 2013, Kendrick dropped Control and declared himself the king of New York while calling out every major rapper by name. That verse shook the entire industry. It wasn't just competitive, it was a declaration of war. And ever since that moment, Kendrick has been methodically proving that he wasn't just talking, he was forecasting the future. Fast forward to 2024. Drake entered the year as rap's streaming overlord, the untouchable giant, the guy with the numbers, the influence, the cosigns, the chart dominance. He was supposed to be invincible. But then Not Like Us dropped and everything collapsed. Drake went from being the culture's biggest star to being the butt of every joke. The song didn't just go number 1, it became a ritual. People played it at parties, at stadiums, at protests. It became the anthem for everyone who was tired of Drake's persona, tired of his dominance, tired of his untouchable status. And the wildest part, Kendrick didn't even have to keep going. He won decisively, publicly, globally. But according to Hit J3, that was just something light. That means Kendrick views the total destruction of Drake's public image as a warm-up, not the main event, not the finale, a warm-up. Now let's talk about J. Cole, because his situation is almost more embarrassing. Cole stood on Might Delete Later and declared himself the best rapper alive on a track literally called Disc 2 Track 2, or whatever he named it. He came out swinging. He dropped a diss. The internet went crazy. People thought we were about to witness an all-out war between three of the biggest names in rap. And then Cole folded. He took the track down. He apologized publicly, on stage, in front of thousands of people. He said he didn't feel right about it and that he respected Kendrick too much. In rap, that's not humility. That's self-disqualification. You don't tap out of a beef and then come back later like you're still the final boss. The culture watched him walk into the ring, see the stakes, realize what he was up against, and backpedal out the door. Meanwhile, Kendrick never apologized, never flinched, never second-guessed himself. He opened GNX by forecasting the exact timeline of 2024 through 2026, and so far, he's been right about everything. He predicted how the beef would play out. He predicted how the culture would respond. He predicted how his opponents would crumble. And now he's predicting that 2026 is the year he completely rewrites the power structure of hip-hop. But here's where the motive gets even deeper. Kendrick isn't just trying to win battles, he's trying to build an empire. And that empire isn't just about him. It's about creating a new generation of artists who operate under his influence, his guidance, his vision. That's where Baby Keem and Doechii come in. Baby Keem isn't just Kendrick's cousin. He's the prince, the next generation hitmaker who was raised in the Camp Lamar camp, trained in chaos, taught how to dominate without compromise. Keem's entire sound, his approach to music, his fearlessness, all of that was shaped by watching Kendrick operate at the highest level. And now, Kendrick is positioning him as the heir to the throne. Doechii is the queen. She's signed to TDE, the same machine that helped turn Kendrick into a generational force. She's been seen increasingly around Kendrick's orbit. Industry whispers say she has a massive 2026 project locked in, and it's being positioned to dominate festival season, TikTok, and the entire conversation around female rappers in one sweep. This isn't about chart positions. This is about locking down future influence. Kendrick is building a system where he controls not just his own legacy, but the next wave of stars who will carry his vision forward. Drake and Cole are still thinking about album cycles. Kendrick is thinking about decades. The rumored rollout plan is straight up horrifying for the rest of the industry, and here's how it allegedly breaks down. Q1 of 2026, Baby Keem drops. The charts suffocate. Drake and Cole's release windows get contaminated before they even announce dates. Every playlist, every editorial feature, every conversation is dominated by Keem's return. And because Kendrick is heavily involved, it's not just Keem's moment. It's a Kendrick adjacent event that reminds everyone who's really in control. Q2, Doechii drops. She dominates festival season, becomes the soundtrack of summer, takes over TikTok with viral moments, and claims the space that other female rappers have been fighting over for years. But she does it with TDE backing and Kendrick's association, which gives her an automatic legitimacy that others have to work years to earn. Quarters 3 and 4, Kendrick steps out with a full album that closes the book on the entire 2020s era. Not just a great album, a definitive statement. The kind of project that makes people rethink what's possible in hip-hop. The kind of project that gets compared to Pimp a Butterfly in Good Kid, Mad City because it operates on that same level of ambition, artistry, and cultural impact. By the time Drake and Cole finally get their moment, by the time they drop their long-awaited projects and try to reclaim their positions, there might not be nothing left to reclaim. The conversation will have moved on, the culture will have shifted, and Kendrick will be sitting on the throne that nobody can even reach anymore. Put all that together, and it looks like the perfect recipe for a complete and total takeover. Not just of 2026, of the entire next era of hip-hop. Kendrick isn't competing. He's restructuring. He's not trying to be number one. He's trying to redefine what number one even means.
But here's the part that really hits different, and it's something people aren't talking about enough. This isn't just about music. This isn't just about chart positions or streaming numbers or who wins the year-end lists. This is about legacy. This is about how these artists will be remembered 20 years from now when people look back at this era. Think about Drake for a second. Forget the numbers, forget the streams, forget the commercial success. What is Drake's legacy gonna be? Is he gonna be remembered as the guy who dominated the 2010s? Or is he gonna be remembered as the guy who got turned into a global meme by Not Like Us? The guy whose most serious attempt at reclaiming respect got drowned out by a diss track that became a cultural phenomenon. Drake is trying to build an Iceman era. He's trying to project this image of cold, calculated dominance. But culturally, his name is still burned into the timeline as the guy Not Like Us ended. And no amount of lawsuits, no amount of PR damage control, no amount of new music is going to erase that. The internet doesn't forget, the culture doesn't forget, and Kendrick made sure that Drake's 2024 humiliation will live forever in the digital archive. Now think about J. Cole. This is a man who spent years building a reputation as one of the most skilled, most respected, most thoughtful rappers in the game. Critics loved him, peers respected him, fans defended him religiously. He was supposed to be untouchable in terms of pure rap ability. And then when the moment came, when the stakes were real, when he finally had a chance to prove everything he'd been saying about himself, he folded. That moment when he apologized, that moment when he took down the diss track, that's gonna follow him for the rest of his career. Every time someone brings up the Big Three conversation, people are gonna remember that Cole tapped out. Every time someone tries to crown him as the best rapper alive, people are gonna point to the fact that he backed down when it mattered most. That's not something you recover from. That's not something you erase with a great album. That's a permanent stain on your legacy. And then there's Kendrick. What's his legacy gonna be? The guy who won a Pulitzer Prize, the guy who headlined the Super Bowl, the guy who turned a rap beef into a global cultural moment, the guy who proved you can be commercially dominant and critically respected at the same time, the guy who never apologized, never backed down, never compromised his vision. But more than that, Kendrick's legacy is going to be about control, about dictating terms, about moving in silence and striking with precision, about building an empire that extends beyond just his own music. That's the difference. Drake and Cole are worried about their next album. Kendrick is worried about the next generation. And honestly, that's what makes this whole situation so devastating for his competition. Because even if Drake drops the best album of his career, even if J. Cole comes back with an undeniable classic, they're still operating in Kendrick's world now. They're still responding to his moves. They're still playing defense while he plays offense. The emotional weight of that reality has to be crushing. Imagine being Drake or J. Cole right now. Imagine spending years at the top of the game, thinking you're untouchable, thinking you've secured your legacy, and then watching Kendrick systematically dismantle everything you built. Not through luck, not through controversy, through pure dominance, through strategy, through execution. That's the part that hits different. This isn't just about who wins 2026. This is about who controls the narrative of this entire era. And right now, Kendrick has his hands on the steering wheel while everyone else is just passengers, hoping they don't crash. Now let's dive even deeper into the evidence, because there are layers to this that most people aren't even seeing yet. The surface level is Baby Keem dropping first, Kendrick having more music ready in the whole 2026 rollout plan. But when you start connecting the dots, when you start looking at who is involved and what they're planning, this whole thing becomes even more insane. First, let's talk about the Doechii factor, because this is the piece everyone is underestimating. While the entire world is obsessing over Drake versus Kendrick and Cole versus his own conscience, Doechii is being quietly positioned like a sniper. She signed a TDE, the same machine that helped turn Kendrick Lamar, Schoolboy Q, and others into generational forces. She's been seen increasingly around Kendrick's orbit at events, in studios, in behind-the-scenes footage. And rumors from people who work directly with TDE say she has a heavy rollout ready for this exact same window. Now here's where it gets strategic. The theory that's circulating in industry circles, and these are people who work with labels, with management, with distribution, is that Kendrick is building an ecosystem. PG Lang and TDE are acting as a joint empire controlling the next wave of stars. Instead of competing as a solo rapper, Kendrick is curating the prince, which is Baby Keem, empowering the queen, which is Doechii, and positioning himself as the unquestionable ruler who sits above all all of them. This isn't a rivalry. This is a hostile restructuring of the entire power hierarchy in hip-hop. And the scary part? It's working. People are already starting to talk about the new big three. Not Drake, Kendrick, and Cole, not anymore. The new conversation is Kendrick, Baby Keem, and Doechii. That's the future. That's the next generation. And Drake and Cole are being written out of the story in real time. Let's break down what each of them brings to the table, because this isn't random, this is calculated. Kendrick is the king, the architect, the executioner, the one who ended careers with one song and a smirk. He's the guy with the Pulitzer Prize, the Super Bowl performance, the critical acclaim, the commercial success, and the cultural influence. He's untouchable. And more importantly, he knows he's untouchable. That confidence, that certainty, that's what makes him so dangerous. He's not trying to prove anything anymore. He's just enforcing. Baby Keem is the prince, the next generation hitmaker who was raised in the Lamar camp and trained in chaos. Keem's sound is aggressive, experimental, unpredictable. He doesn't follow trends, he creates them. And because he has Kendrick's cosign, because he has access to the best producers, the best features, the best resources, he's basically being handed the keys to the kingdom before he even turns 30. That's generational wealth in terms of influence. Doechii is the queen, TDE's rising monster who's circling closer and closer to Kendrick's orbit with every move she makes. She's got bars, she's got charisma, she's got versatility, and most importantly, she's got the machine behind her. When TDE decides to push someone, they don't just promote them, they build them into cultural forces. And all signs point to Doechii being the next one in line for that treatment. Now here's where the evidence gets even more concrete. Multiple industry insiders, and I'm talking about people who work directly with streaming platforms, with radio programmers, with festival bookers, are saying that there's a coordinated rollout plan that's been in the works for months. This isn't improvised, this isn't reactive. This is a strategy that was designed to maximize impact and minimize competition. The alleged timeline breaks down like this, and pay attention because this is where it gets scary. February or March 2026. Baby Keem drops his album. Minimum 2 Kendrick features, possibly more. One track is being positioned as the undisputed song of the year before it even releases. The marketing push is going to be massive. Billboards, playlists, festival announcements, media coverage. And because it's coming from the Kendrick camp, every outlet is going to cover it like it's a major event. April or May, Doechii drops her project. Festival season is starting, summer is approaching, and she's positioned to own that moment. Her music is already designed for live performances, for viral moments, for TikTok dominance. And with TDE's resources and Kendrick's association, she's not just another female rapper trying to break through. She's a movement. Late 2026, Kendrick drops his album, and this is the one that ends the conversation for the rest of the decade. Reports say it's going to be experimental, cinematic, and ambitious in ways that make GNX look like a warm-up. People close to the project are calling it a career divider, the kind of album that makes other artists rethink their entire approach to music, the kind of album that gets studied in music schools, the kind of statement that defines an era. And if that's true, if Kendrick really has something that ambitious locked in, then Drake and Cole aren't just competing for second place, they're competing to be remembered at all. Because when Kendrick drops, when the full weight of his vision hits the culture, everything else is going to feel like background noise. People close to TDE and PG Lang allegedly say, and this is a quote that keeps popping up in industry circles, "Y'all think this is beef, this is urban planning. They're designing the next 10 years while everyone else worries about first week sales." Nobody's saying this on record, nobody's going public with these claims, but behind closed doors, the sentence that keeps coming up is, if you're not aligned with Kendrick, you're preparing to get left behind by Kendrick's people. That's not competition, that's domination. And the scary part? It's already happening. We're just watching it unfold in real time.
Now, this whole situation gets even crazier when you realize how many moving pieces are involved. Because it's not just Kendrick, Keem, and Doechii. There's an entire network of people working behind the scenes to make this happen. Producers, engineers, managers, label executives, marketing teams, and they're all aligned with one goal: make sure Kendrick's vision becomes reality. Let's talk about the producers for a second, because this is where you start to see how deep this goes.
The Alchemist, who's worked with Kendrick before, has been posting cryptic messages on social media that fans are convinced are hints about new Kendrick music. Soundwave, Kendrick's longtime collaborator and right-hand man in the studio, has been unusually quiet, which usually means he's locked in working on something major. And then there's the rumor that Kendrick reached out to some completely unexpected producers, people who don't normally work in hip-hop, to create sounds that nobody's heard before. That's the level of ambition we're talking about here. Kendrick isn't just trying to make a great rap album. He's trying to make something that transcends rap, something that gets played in art galleries and film festivals and places where hip-hop doesn't normally reach. That's always been his approach. He's never been satisfied with just being the best rapper. He wants to be recognized as one of the greatest artists of his generation, period. Meanwhile, fans online been working like full-blown investigators, tracking every single clue. They're analyzing lyrics from GNX, looking for hints about what's coming next. They're studying old interviews where Kendrick talked about his long-term plans. They're connecting dots between PG Lang's creative projects and potential album rollouts, and the theories they're coming up with are wild. One popular theory is that Kendrick's next album is going to be tied to a visual component, either a film, a documentary, or some kind of multimedia experience. That would make sense given his history. Damn had the short films for each music video. Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers had the therapy concept and the intimate visuals. So the idea that his next project would push even further into visual storytelling, that tracks. Another theory is that Kendrick is planning some kind of surprise drop. No announcement, no rollout, just boom, album's out. And given how GNX caught people off guard with its sudden release, that's not out of the question. Imagine waking up one day and Kendrick's new album is just there. No warning, no hype cycle, just pure music. That would break the internet. Let's keep it real though. Everything is speculation until Kendrick or his team confirms something officially. But the pattern is clear. Every move Kendrick has made over the past 2 years has been calculated. Every decision has been strategic, and every outcome has worked in his favor. So when people say he's planning something major for 2026, when insiders claim he's got a master plan, it's not hard to believe, because that's literally what he's been doing his entire career. And while all this is happening, Drake and J. Cole are just existing. They're not controlling the narrative, they're not dictating the conversation, they're reacting. And in hip-hop, once you're in reactive mode, once you're playing defense instead of offense, it's almost impossible to get back on top. The culture moves too fast, the internet moves too fast, and Kendrick is moving faster. And this story is still unfolding with way bigger implications than just one beef or 1 year. What we're seeing here is how power shifts in hip-hop, how influence gets transferred from one generation to the next, how legacies get built and destroyed in real time. The bigger conversation is about control, about who gets to decide what matters in the culture. For years, Drake had that control. He could drop a song and it would instantly become the biggest thing in music. He could co-sign an artist and their career would take off. He could dictate trends and everyone would follow. But Not Like Us shattered that illusion. It proved that Drake's power wasn't invincible. It proved that the culture could turn on him if someone gave them a reason to. J. Cole had a different kind of power. He had respect. He had the critics. He had the real hip-hop fans who valued lyricism and substance. But when he backed down from the beef, when he apologized and removed his diss track, he lost that respect. Not completely, but enough that people started questioning whether he really believed in himself the way he claimed to. Kendrick's power is different. It's not just about streams or sales or critical acclaim. It's about inevitability. It's about the feeling that whatever Kendrick decides to do, it's gonna work. Whatever move he makes, it's gonna be the right one. That's a level of confidence and authority that you can't manufacture. You have to earn it through consistency, through excellence, through never missing. When you constantly put yourself in competitive situations, when you constantly challenge yourself to do better, when you constantly push the boundaries of what's possible, you're not just building a career, you're building a legacy. And Kendrick understands that better than anyone. He's not trying to have the biggest first week, he's trying to create music that people will still be talking about in 20 years. The more you study Kendrick's career, the more you realize every album was a building block. Every feature was strategic. Every public appearance was calculated. Nothing is random, nothing is accidental. And that's what makes him so dangerous. Because while other artists are worried about staying relevant, Kendrick is worried about staying immortal. So here's how this probably ends. Baby Keem drops in February or March and dominates the first quarter of 2026. His album does massive numbers, gets critical praise, and reminds everyone why the Kendrick camp is untouchable. Drake and Cole drop their projects at some point later in the year. They do solid numbers, they get decent reviews, but the conversation is already over. The narrative has already been written. Kendrick won before they even released their music. Then, late 2026, Kendrick drops his album, and it's everything people hoped for and more. It's ambitious, it's cinematic, it's a statement, and it cements his position as the greatest rapper of this generation. Not because of streams, not because of sales, but because of impact, because of influence, because of legacy. By New Year's Eve 2026, people won't be asking, is Kendrick number one? They'll be asking, did we ever really take Drake and Cole seriously compared to this? And that's the ultimate victory. Not just winning the battle, but rewriting history so completely that people forget there was ever a competition in the first place. Stay locked in because this story is about to get even crazier. More details dropping, more clues surfacing, and reports say Kendrick's team is just getting started. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Do you think Drake and Cole can recover? Do you think Kendrick's really planning something this big? Make sure you like, subscribe, and turn on notifications because we're covering every twist. I'll see you in the next one. Stay safe, and remember, legends control the game. Everyone else just plays in it.